Hello, this video is for Israel only. Today is Saturday, the 7th of September, 2024, and I guess I'm doing a video just to give you an update, Israel, like a monthly update video that I do from time to time, just to catch up with you on things. Yeah, I guess first of all, I'm just riding my electric scooter today. It's not riding too well. It's got a bit of a noise in the motor, but anyway, yeah, I guess all the signs are good. In that I might actually end up prophesying to you, Isaiah 17 and Elam, although I'm not giving any guarantees, but I have been deciphering, quite a few important things, and that tells me that I'm still in the will of God, and that it's probable that I probably will be prophesying to you. Now, of course, I don't know whether you have picked this up or not, Israel. There is a pattern, that I picked up on this. When I prophesy to you, begin now. Of course, the following day you begin now, and when I prophesy to you, that you need to do the Sidon Bowl prophecy. Of course, you send a message to Iran. So now I'm hearing out there on YouTube, people that are in the know with all these things, and some are saying that the third Lebanon war is looming, but of course you and I, Israel, know that that's actually the Sidon Baal prophecy that you need to fulfill. So of course, regarding the pattern that I just mentioned, then it's probable, I would say, and I'm not making any promises. Of course, this is up to the will of God, but it's probable that maybe the day before you do Isaiah 17 or even Elam, that's probably when God is going to use me to prophesy to you, and I'm sure, Israel, that of course you are very clever, and you will have picked up this as well, so we shall see what happens, but I guess what I wanted to say is that at the moment all the signs are looking good. My biblical decipherings have picked up again, with me deciphering good, decent things, so yeah, that tells me that, the signs are good, that it's probable that I might end up prophesying, Isaiah 17, Elam, and so on. So I'm praying every day to God that He will allow me to do this, but of course I have a prophecy about me, and I don't know if this is going to be the case, I can only prophesy and go on with what God gives me, so yeah, we shall see. And I pray every day to God that the things go well for you, Israel, on the prophetic front, in these very difficult prophetic times, so yeah, all these things are very difficult, from a lot of point of views, personally for me, it saddens me that Israel now is very prosperous, and we got all these impending and infant Bible prophecies, and yeah, I guess yeah, this is sad, it's there is no easy way of saying this, but of course you realize that you have to move forward with all of this, because when I prophesy to you, begin now, as I said to you before in other videos, that you need to be moving forward with all of this, and like I said earlier, the pattern is that as you progress through with this, what people are calling it the Third Lebanon War, better known as the Sidon Baal prophecy, that in the mix of that you have Isaiah and Elam, that perhaps a day before, according to the pattern that I've been prophesying, that I might be probably coming back to prophesy these things to you, although I don't give any guarantees, so but according to the pattern, it's probable, and the signs are good, especially with the things that I have been deciphering recently, so, um, the knowledge of God is coming through, and, it's a good sign. But of course, you need to realize that I have a prophecy about me, and it's a very difficult prophecy to live with, because on the one hand, you know, um, it used to bother me for about a whole month. It doesn't bother me anymore, but then when you are doing things, for example, like I'm studying full time at the moment, sometimes you say to yourself, it's kind of like a mental struggle sometimes, like, should I keep doing this or do something else? Because, I don't know my hour, but sometimes you say to yourself, well, just live your life normal, and then when it happens, it happens, so yeah, you have to juggle that, So, and plus the fact that, being a prophet, you have God constantly in your mind all the time, all the time. And, you know, all your thoughts and things like that, you bring them to God. It's like, it's God in your head, in your mind all the time, because you're also expecting that perhaps you could be prophesying at any moment, It might be outside the pattern, so I don't really know. But yeah, you have, you're thinking about God all the time, so, everything was going really well. Israel, up until God came with the prophecy, I was kind of like full blast, and, yeah, when God gave me this prophecy, then, it, yeah, it's sort of like, it humbles you, because then, you don't know your hour, and you think, you think of these different directions, different things, like, for example, like I said, I'm studying, and sometimes you think, is it worth it, or should I do something else that's easier, or should I just go and then wait it out, is that kind of struggle, yeah, so it's interesting, um, yeah, I guess it's, being a prophet is very exciting, especially not just prophesying, but, with all the biblical knowledge that God has passed on to me, And I noticed recently how one of my videos is getting a lot of attention, Secrets of the Prophets. I actually ended up prophesying two of those that I mentioned in the video. I prophesied to you, of course, 144,000. God actually put me into a trance the night before to do the 144. And I did a video not long afterwards prophesying that to you anyway, and it's actually in the list in the Star of David, where I keep all my prophecies there for you. And God gave me knowledge as well on the the prophet Haggai, third temple Bible prophecies. And I didn't prophesy that, but it's like, for example, God giving me the knowledge on the millennial kingdom, if you like, and many others. And of course, also prophesied to you, many other things, and done many, biblical decipherings regarding Melchizedek. One night, I was reading the book of the book of Hebrews, and for most of my time, I have been reading the Bible specifically to decipher about prophecies. But this night, I was just relaxing, and I thought, okay, I'll read the book of Hebrews just for pleasure, And lo and behold, I get no rest. God ordered me to decipher Melchizedek, and so I decipher Melchizedek, So yeah, yeah, it's very exciting, prophesying and God giving you all this knowledge. I think what you need to take into account, Israel, very importantly, is that not just with what I'm prophesying, but also my biblical decipherings, because many of my biblical decipherings are actually not in the Star of David, because God, didn't, didn't say to me, "Hey, prophesy this if you like," but He gave me the knowledge nonetheless, and you have to consider them as almost at the level of a prophecy or prophesying, if you like, because it's God giving me the knowledge. And so you need to, you know, uh, you know, type my biblical decipherings, with a high level of importance, So, but anyway, yeah, it's a very exciting role, yeah, I was full on before God gave me the prophecy, and then after that I got a little bit rattled, because, yeah, that prophecy just rattled me. um, yeah, I never forget that night, it was just incredible, God said, I'm going to take you out. I want you to serve me in heaven, but it wasn't just what he said, but how he said it. It was like a devouring voice, it was like a voice, okay? It was getting bigger and it felt like I was being devoured, and I thought I was gone that night, I literally thought that I was gone. So, and I said to God immediately, I'm not ready yet. Yeah, that's because I was scared, it just came out of the blue, like I was just talking to God, like in my thoughts, if you like, but not directed to Him, I didn't know He was listening though, and then He came, it's just incredible, like yeah, yeah, with this thing of prophesying, it's very exciting, like it's exhilarating, you constantly have God all the time in your mind, uh, do you get used to this and become, say like a seasoned prophet, if you like? I don't know. The thing is that this is exciting all the time, and you just go for it, Uh, yeah, sort of like miss my days of Elijah, prior to when God gave me this prophecy about me, like, yeah, I was like a raging lion, but ever since the prophecy about me, it's kind of like, yeah, kind of like squashed me a bit, so yeah, it's interesting. So, but anyway, you move on, and I guess this is just training ground for when I get to heaven. I mean, this is gonna be an amazing promotion. Serving God in heaven. And the more I think about this, it's sometimes it feels like a good dream. Like wake me up, God. Uh, yeah, it's just incredible. Like but anyway. Um, it's with all the things that I have said and all my biblical decipherings and things like that. It's been quite a lot. A lot of exhilaration, if you like, with all these things. And you know, when I go to heaven, it's gonna be even bigger. Like serving God, being in His presence. I think Elijah the prophet, he was of course taken up, and then the other one was Enoch. Pre covenant with Abraham. Enoch walked with God and then he was taken. So I'm gonna be the third one. So yeah, it's quite incredible. Like yeah, what do you do? Like anyway, we shall see. As we go along, as you progress through the prophetic front, then of course I'm aware of the pattern. And the more you progress through this Sidon Baal prophecy, then when you're ready for Isaiah and Elam, perhaps you might want to expect me the day before. So yeah, it's interesting. So we shall see. But like I said, I don't promise anything. So yeah, it's yeah, I don't know what else to say. This is all incredible. It's an incredible journey. And I remember, when I said to God that I wanted to be a prophet, I was actually on my car on my way to an Aldi shopping center in the morning, and yeah, I was saved, at that stage, and I was hearing people, talking about the rapture all the time, and yeah, I just wanted to be useful, and I don't know what came over me, but as I was praying to God, I said, God, I missed my chance. I want to be a prophet, and just not being someone that didn't know much about the Bible except for the basics, I has a little bit more, but nothing right, and yeah, it's just incredible, the journey that where I'm now, since I began my channel, with all these things, And the first thing that I began to prophesy was actually the rapture of the church. I remember doing a video, telling people that I'm a prophet, that I'm prophesying the rapture of the church. And, of course, I don't know if people took that seriously, but when I began to do, biblical decipherings, then, showed that people began to pay a bit more attention, and so, yeah, and then it was actually quite interesting when I did so many videos for the church about the rapture, and then, one day, I said to God, uh, I was up to about 80 videos, and I said to God, I'll do 100, but after that, we are going to have a little talk, because yeah, enough is enough, And then when I got to about 100, I went to God and I said, turn me around, let me prophesy to Israel, because yeah, the situation just got too frustrating, And I didn't expect that, that God would allow me to. Of course, I was prophesying to you, Israel, and to the church, but not in that big way, And it took 3 weeks, but really it only took 2 weeks because the first week when I went to God, then He allowed me to sort of like calm down, because I was a bit upset, And then the second week He began to layer the knowledge, for me to prophesy to you, Israel, that it is righteous that you fulfill the end times. I was ready by the second week, but I needed to sort of like, prop up myself, to strengthen myself in this, because on the second week, when God began to layer the knowledge, and I said to myself, oh, here he comes. This is going to be a walk to Mount Sinai, and it sure was. It was difficult, difficult climb, because I knew that if I was going to walk down with the two tablets and prophesy to you that it was going to be incredible after that. I needed to have God on my side. So yeah, and the rest is history, as I say. And I remember when I prophesied to you, begin now. That was incredible. That was the most powerful prophesying that I ever did, because it just felt so strong, so natural. Almost, I compare it to Moses striking the rock at Horeb, and water gushing out. It was just flowing out, telling to begin now, and yeah, that was quite something, And of course, down the track, the Sidon Baal prophecy, when things with Iran, began to get a little bit heated, and so yeah, like I said, I'm just waiting to see, maybe the day before you do Isaiah 17, of course, and Elam, then I might come back to you. So yeah, I'm human too, when you think about all these things, and you try and fathom all of these, it is just tremendous, Yeah, like of course, I have the peace of God with all of this, you need the peace of God to prophesy all these things, because it's not only because you need to go to sleep, but imagine the excitement, of saying all these things, and all this knowledge that you're getting. So it's very exciting, and with these things you need to have the peace of God, So I have the peace of God, and and none of this surpasses me. I'm humble, and you know, I'm on the all clear, so to speak. I'm level-headed with all of this. And with these things, uh, you don't want to dwell too much on it, because uh, all this is enormous. You just sort of like want to say what you have to say, and you know, uh, and with your decipherings and things like that, you do them and then you move on, and you don't want to dwell on it too much, because yeah, it's actually quite big. Yeah, you need to sort of like preserve yourself, and just stay put. Uh, and yeah, it's hard to explain some of these things. You need to be very level-headed with all these things. So yeah, yeah, I guess I could say other things too. But anyway, yeah, I just want to say that this is a very exciting experience. And yeah, I'm looking forward, to what's next. Things are getting more exciting. I don't know what I'm more excited about. Is it me prophesying, or me, being taken up by God? I don't know which one or the two. Like everything is exciting. Israel, and yeah, this is just incredible. Incredible. It's anyway. Yeah, I like listening to Jonathan Kahn. He's sort of like my mentor, if you like. I watch all his videos, and everything that Jonathan Kahn says is true. He's quite spectacular. Jonathan Kahn. I think that he's the best out there on YouTube, and yeah, I always watch his videos. And one of the things that I like that he said is that being a prophet and sort of like being in the will of God, it's not an intellectual thing, like he said. It's a real thing. That's right. Jonathan Kahn is incredible. Like he deserves to be a prophet. It's not an intellectual thing. This is real. You gotta believe in miracles. You gotta, if you believe in miracles, and you have strong faith in God, and you ask God that you might want to be a prophet. If you truly believe in miracles, it's possible that you might be, but you have to believe in them, and it's not an intellectual thing, like Jonathan Kahn said. It's a real thing. You see, before I became a prophet, I already experienced many miracles from God, and so it was a lot easier for me coming into this role, because I already experienced quite a bit, in different family circumstances, and real miracles, like real things, and but they are between me and God. I don't have to explain them, and so I already believed in Jesus. I believed in miracles, and it's this sort of five in miracles that makes your five stronger when you grow in God. You gotta believe in miracles, because this is what's gonna grow your faith. And you gotta seek them. Seek them, like just like I thought miracles with God. Uh, the Jews require a sign, and so I said to Jesus many times when I was doing many biblical decipherings. I said to Jesus, "Okay, the Jews require a sign. Very well, then let us bombard them with miracles and signs." And so, when God gave me, knowledge on one biblical deciphering, I said, "Okay, Jesus, give me another one, and then another one." And that's how all this thing grew, with all these, biblical decipherings. I said to Jesus, "Okay, then the Jews require a sign. Very well, then let us give them signs." So I use that prophecy, uh, to get knowledge, if you like, from Jesus, so that you Israel believe me that I'm a prophet, that I'm sent from God. So this is what I did. So yeah, I guess I got a lot. I didn't think that I would get as much. Like this. What God has given me is just incredible. Just incredible. I didn't think that I would get as much as this. And even the prophecy about me, that in itself is, woke me up, God. you know, that promotion is just, like it's, I just want to grab my head, and just, it's incredible, like, uh, this is what happens, Israel, when you have faith in God. When you believe in miracles and when you have strong faith in God and you get all these things, this is what happens, You get all these things from God when you're on His will, and you thank God and you ask God for more because you are believing and believing and believing. This is what happens. It's incredible. I don't know. Like how all this. Sometimes when I think back, how did all this happen? Just incredible. Like I guess in my younger days when I used to watch, Charles Heston, that movie, I used to get goosebumps, with the Ten Commandments, and I used to say to myself, life is not worth living without being a prophet because this is the ultimate human experience, getting all these miracles from God, You can have all the money in the world, you can have trillions in the bank, but you might never get to experience this from God, the power of God, and you cannot buy this experience, And much of prophets, very few, like, of course, Moses, Elijah, I really like Elijah, Elisha, Samuel, of course, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel, Ezekiel, John the Baptist, and the 12 apostles. There's not that many of us, who have been given this huge task or this big assignment, to prophesy and to do big things in the will of God. There's not that many of us. So we are sort of like, very rare, very rare. So it's an honor, and out of all the Jewish people worldwide, I'm the only one chosen. Now Jonathan Kahn did a video about, which is right, Messiah's mantle. Everything he said is spot on. The fact that all the believers get the Holy Spirit, then Messiah's mantle is spread across everyone. All of us are anointed. He's right in that. But however, my mission is a little bit special, in that I'm a mature prophet. I have been singled out for this mission. And so it's not many people. I'm not aware that people are prophesying what I have prophesied, or even decipher some of the things that I have. So I have been singled out, for this mission, and I have a prophecy about me. And so, I'm a mature prophet. So for me, it's a little bit different. Messiah's mentor is on me. But yeah, I'm humble. I'm humble because this is tremendous. And like I said earlier, with prophesying, you don't want to dwell too much on it. Like I don't even look at my list of, the start of Bible list, my list of prophecies, because it's actually quite scary, like that's why I don't even look at it, and I don't look too much on my past videos or even biblical deciphers. Once I do them, I'm done with them, because you need to move forward, because you need to be level-headed with all of this, Now, God is very careful in who He chooses, because this is not someone who has an ego. For someone who has a big ego, and this is not for that kind of person, This is for someone who has, a strong faith in God, for someone who loves God, for someone who's prepared to, have the courage, to prophesy, because prophesying is very difficult. It's not easy. It requires a lot of courage, and a lot more than that. And when you're prophesying as well, there could be times when you're actually, telling God, you're discussing with God, things, you know, and so yeah, it requires a lot of faith, and courage and things like that, Yeah, it's for a special someone, it's, being a prophet, only the prophet knows his relationship with God, and you know, and the relationship that the prophet has with God, only they know it between themselves, So, but anyway, you gotta stay level-headed, and you move on from one thing to the next, and you thank God, for this experience, and you ask God for the next one, and yeah, you just have God, you live with the excitement of this, you just have God on your mind all the time, in anticipation of what could be next, So yeah, there's a lot that goes into this, So yeah, it's a lot more than what I say, So that's why I say to you, Israel, that the relationship that a prophet has with God, it's a personal relationship that they have between one another, So it's like that, But anyway, we'll just see what happens next. I'm looking forward to prophesying again, the more that God can give me, the more that I can glorify Jesus, and the bigger my name, it's a win-win for all of us, and also a win-win, for you, Israel, as well, because you are in this, we are all in this together, God, you, Israel, and I here, the prophet, the three of us are in this together, so yeah, I guess out of this, there's a lot of new statistics, to think about, like from time to time I think about, for example, that, that Elijah, and myself, under the Abrahamic covenant, are the prophets that, uh, will be taken out. I'm impending, but I have been prophesied to. So, of course we have Enoch, but he was outside of the Abrahamic covenant. But I guess it's actually three of us that two have been taken out. I'm impending, but it will be three of us because the will of God will happen, so you can count it. So it's the three of us, But Elijah and myself taken out, so it's quite interesting. So, and I'm sort of like, the next, probably Paul is, Paul, of course, Paul was a prophet, but he was an apostle. He has a higher level than a prophet. An apostle. So the apostles, the 12 apostles chosen by Jesus, they have a higher grade, if you like, than the prophets. You have the apostles first, and then the prophets. But without counting the apostles, then especially Paul, then and the next prophet after John the Baptist. The next major one after John the Baptist. and it took almost like 2,000 years. Yeah, it's been incredible how the Bible is coming true. Yeah, how I am here, in the Book of Acts. So the Bible is true. And then the next major one after John the Baptist. It almost seems to me like the days of old are coming back. Which is quite incredible. Like yeah. Yeah, sometimes you sort of like don't know what to say. You sort of like stand for words. Like yeah, this is just incredible. Like yeah, I'm human too. I might be a prophet, but I'm human too. And yeah, this is quite something. Yeah, this is just incredible. I don't know what to say sometimes. But um, yeah, it's very exciting. Living in the will of God. I just wish I had that fervent power that I had, before God gave me the prophecy about me, like I was a roaring lion, and now, I have been humble. So, yeah, like I miss my days in Mount Carmel. I miss my days in Mount Carmel, like Elijah, yeah, I miss those days, so that's why, when you're a prophet, you try and enjoy it as much as possible, your days of power, like power, God giving you power to do all these things, like Jonathan Kahn says, it's God that, he makes you this, roaring lion, if you like. He's true, Jonathan Kahn, everything that he says is true, he's amazing. He's sort of like my mentor, I also like, Tim Henderson, I like Jonathan Kahn and Tim Henderson because old school with good old school values, yeah, it should be, see, Jonathan Kahn and Pastor Tim Henderson, they're sort of like, the old school pastors of how every pastor should be, I remember growing up, of course I grew up as a Roman Catholic, but I'm not a Roman Catholic anymore, I consider myself more in line with the Southern Baptist, because I learned a lot from Robert Breika, Robert Breika, of course, a pastor from America, from Florida, on YouTube. And so I believe in the gospel of salvation found in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 1 to 4. So I consider myself more of a Southern Baptist, if you like, but yeah, I think that, pastors should be old school, like Jonathan Kahn, and Tim Henderson and Robert Breika, old school, just old school, with good old fashioned values, and it's so difficult to find that these days, I don't watch pretty much nobody except them two. The only one that I sort of, them three, but this size more Jonathan Kahn and Tim Henderson, Um, now, the other one that I like is Pastor Dr. Todd Fink from Holy Land Site. I think that he's also, has, good old fashioned values. So I watch him from time to time. He does a lot of archaeological videos and things like that. He was the first one actually that I watched, on my journey to be a prophet, So, yeah, I like watching him as well. But yeah, I also like watching, Jonathan Kahn and Tim Henderson, like old school, And yeah, Jonathan Kahn just released, his new book, The Dragon's Prophecy. I went to the library here in the city the other day to see if I could find it, but it wasn't there, So I'll see you next week. I might get it from Amazon, or from somewhere, So yeah, speaking about prophecies, it's just interesting how God is giving me all these, has made me a much a prophet in the last days here of the church age, giving me all this knowledge, I think it's actually, phenomenal that God has given me all this knowledge, right now, like And I asked myself, why now? Um, why not? Why wasn't this knowledge given earlier? Why, some of the things weren't prophesied earlier, So at least I'm glad that I got them, and I got them for, the glory of Jesus, and also for, my own glory too, As I prophesy, in a way, I just think it's good too, but yeah, I'm also surprised how, God is using me. He's practically giving me everything, like, all the Bible secrets, if you like, like he's giving them all to me, and I'm passing them on to you, Israel, So I think this is actually quite interesting that this is actually happening right now, and that it didn't happen, in earlier times, I guess Daniel, prophesies this, with, seal the book, and in the last days, knowledge shall increase and so on, I get it, but just paraphrasing here, of course, but yeah, I just think that it's actually quite incredible that I'm just getting all this knowledge, and it's very exciting, I remember when I deciphered, Haggai's third temple, Bible prophecies. I just got to lower my voice as people go past, That was quite phenomenal, like even Melchizedek, when I was reading the book of Hebrews, when God ordered me to decipher Melchizedek, I already knew that that was Jesus, Okay, that's Jesus. I said to myself, as soon as God ordered me to do that, I know it's Jesus. I know, Jesus wanted me to decipher him, Who has the honor, for these things? Think about, you know, how God is giving me the honor to do all these things. It's incredible, like, yeah, I just think that this is just, yeah, phenomenal, incredible. Sometimes you don't have any words to explain. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, you just have to remain level-headed, and go from one thing to the next, And even this prophecy about me, it's actually incredible itself, because I thought, okay, I'll prophesy, and God gives me knowledge, and I'll decipher things here and there, but to even expect a prophecy about you, that is probably a bigger reward and a bigger promotion than everything that I already said. Uh, to consider that only Enoch and Elijah, went up, and I'm going to be the third one. And, it's an honor, because God doesn't say how many people there are in the world right now, 8 billion. It's not like God is walking around saying, hey, you over there, I'm going to take you up, and I want you to serve me in heaven. There's 8 billion people in the world right now, and I'm the only one. I'm sure that God has said that too. Think about that for a moment, and you have to try and live with all these things, and you try and fathom, and you just stay level headed. And I update my, Starro David, and just keep moving along from one to the next. This is just incredible, like, yeah, you shake your head on these things, but yeah, like, yeah, I love God for doing this, it's amazing, like, I'm gonna be in the presence of God, serving him for all eternity, and I'm gonna get to experience the power of God, seeing how God acts with his power, being in his presence and serving him as well. And I'm pretty sure he's going to give me powers, because he wants me to serve him. And so I also need to get powers from him as well. So, and I'm gonna be seeing angels and things like that, So it's gonna be quite an experience, So not only, is my mission here pretty big as it is as a major prophet, but also my mission in heaven is gonna be even bigger, because this time I'm going to be with God and with Jesus. So yeah, it's something else, I don't know how, how to explain all this, or how you can even fathom all this, I'm thankful to God, Thank you, God the Father. Thank you, Lord Jesus, and thank you, Holy Spirit, for making me a prophet. Amen. I thank God the Father, Lord Jesus, and the Holy Spirit every day for making me a prophet, and for all the glory that God has given me, so that Israel, you might believe in God. So I guess just to finish up with this video, Israel, I just want to share the gospel. The fact that I'm a prophet proves that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through Him, because I have come to you, Israel, as proof in very specific moments when I prophesied to you, begin now and do the Sidon, and with all my knowledge, and all the secrets that God has, and all the biblical secrets that God has given me, and that proves to you as a sign that that God is true, and that Jesus is true, and that the Holy Spirit is true, because I'm prophesying all these things. So I hope that you, Israel, you come to the knowledge of the truth that you need to believe in Jesus, because I share the gospel is found in the first book of Corinthians, chapter 15, verses 1 to 4, how Jesus died on the cross, and that He was buried and rose again on the third day according to the scriptures. That's it. But Jesus died for 40 days, and of course afterwards, and after His resurrection, of course, and many people saw Him, and look at all the miracles that He performed. Look at me, I'm performing all these miracles here with prophesying and with all this biblical knowledge that I'm passing to you. This is coming out from Jesus, who is the King of Israel. So you need to believe, because you don't want to be stuck in the tribulation period. It's going to be horrible, and Zechariah has already prophesied that only 1/3 of the Jewish people will make it through. And the fact that I'm here as a prophet proves to you, Israel, that Jesus is true. Otherwise, why else will I be here? So you need to believe in Jesus, because it's going to be tough. That's why when God, probably even when God, came in my prophecy, I was already thinking about asking God to anoint my mantle, to rise up another prophet for the second half of the tribulation period, because I felt sorry, for the Jewish people that only 1/3 are going to make it through. And right now, I think the population in Israel, I think it's 10 million, 2 million Arabs, of course. Let's just say that it's 8 million, maybe with Aliyah between now and the end of the Second War, or maybe between now and when you finish rebuilding the third temple, it's going to be maybe 1 million or 2 more. I'm not really sure. I can't speculate on those figures, but it's going to be a lot more. And only 1/3 will make it through. That's why I said to Jesus, anoint my mantle. Let us rise up together. A mature prophet to help the Jewish people in the second half of the tribulation period, so that the prophecy in Zechariah chapter 13, verse 9 comes to pass. In other words, the Jewish people uniting unto Jesus. So this is the plan, of course. So of course, a prophet has to not only prophesy, but also work with God in rising issues. This is part of being a prophet as well. So when you yourself, Israel, anoint your own prophet, like I have prophesied to you already, then the person that you choose, according to your own choosing, it's not just about prophesying, but about raising issues with God. I'll give you an example. When I did so many videos for the church, and I got frustrated in the end after doing 100 videos, and I went to complain to Jesus, and I said, politely, enough is enough. I said to Jesus, turn me around and let me prophesy to Israel only Israel, no longer the church, because they're in apostasy. They're not buying my, my prophesying regarding the rapture of the church. And so I said to Jesus, okay, then, very well. Enough is enough. And, I asked Jesus politely to turn me around to prophesy to you only. And how is it then that Genesis 12:3, incredible Genesis 12:3, I will bless those and curse the fact that, God told me around to prophesy to you, Israel, everything just go way better after that when I began prophesying to you. Uh, you know, I was prophesying to you big things. I got big biblical decipherings and knowledge from God. Amazing. And today I only prophesy to you. I don't prophesy to the church anymore. Because they abandoned me. They didn't want to hear the knowledge that I was passing them to them about the rapture. And every day on YouTube, they're all crying out, rapture, rapture. Nothing is needed. When the Bible is full of end time prophecies, they want rapture at any cost. A lot of these people, they don't even care about you, Israel, because if they really care about you, and and they thought about a little bit about prophecies, people should know, if they understand the Bible and they read the Bible, that you need to go through certain end time prophecies before we have the rapture. Of course, you already know what they are. Otherwise you're going to have prophetic chaos. If you have the rapture right now, what's going to happen? Moses and Elijah immediately turn up in Israel. They're going to be looking at each other, scratching their heads. Where is a third temple? Because we have a precise time of 1,260 days, according to Revelation 11. And how can that prophecy come to pass in Revelation 11 when the angel says to John, "Hey, John, here's a type measure. Go and measure the temple." If we have a rapture now, there is no temple. So what is the angel going to tell John? "Hey, John, give me back the type measure. Let me put it in my pocket." Forget about measuring the temple, because Moses and Elijah are going to spend more than 3.5 years until we finish rebuilding the temple, the third temple. It just doesn't make any sense, but all these things, of course, are logical, but it's just astounding how people just don't want to use any common sense in thinking about this. And the worst part of all is that not even pastors can come up with this kind of logic. And unless you have this kind of logic, or apply this kind of logic to the end time Bible prophecies, you cannot understand it or even hope to decipher any of this, So, yeah, it's quite incredible, I came with very little knowledge, when I came to God, and I asked God that I wanted to be a prophet, which I don't know what came over me, I guess I had that reading in my own heart or something, Maybe it was predestinated or something, but, but then, as God was giving me the knowledge, I grew, and I learned a lot, and according to the Bible deciphering, and God gave me a lot of knowledge, so, and consider this, Israel, I'm not even a trained pastor, or a rabbi, I came just flesh and blood, just like this. One day I was in my car heading to an Aldi shopping center, and in my morning prayers, just before I went to the shopping center, I was already saved, but I said to God, "God, I want to be a prophet. I missed my chance." Immediately after that, He put me into a trial of faith, and I passed every single trial of faith that God put me through. I passed all the big ones, And so this is why I am here today, with all of this, because I passed all my trials of faith, and I kept working hard at it, deciphering, getting into the will of God, And above all, are you ready, Israel? Above all, believing in miracles, because just like Jonathan Kahn said, this is not an intellectual thing. He was spot on in that, Everything that Jonathan Kahn says is spot on, This is not an intellectual thing. This is about believing in real miracles, And if you just believe, just simple, if you just believe, you'll be amazed at what you get, Yeah, of course, I understand that for some people this might not be easy, I humbly have to say that I'm lucky because, like I said earlier, I experienced a lot of miracles with family issues, and I mean miracles. And I have my brother that's after me to prove this. I experienced miracles, real miracles, and of course, before I came to Jesus as a prophet, I already believed. I believed in miracles, and this of course, grew my faith, and also Jesus came to me as well. In a miracle, in an incident, if you like, big time. And so, yeah, I believed, and this, of course, helped me a lot, and also had God the Father came to me once because I was worried about the end times. This was prior to me being a prophet. And he said to me, don't worry about anything. I'm in full control of everything. That's why, Israel, when I said to you, begin now, of course, you need to realize that God is in full control of everything, because he's watching you. And he's telling me to prophesy to you, tell him to begin now. Of course, God is in full control, allowing you to do all these things because it is God who is in full control of all these things, Of course, just as much as, with the seed on Bible prophecy, and yeah, and of course I have, uh, commentary, to say about Sidon. It's, of course, some things are keeping between myself and God, uh, regarding Sidon. But anyway, of course, Sidon is a plant that you have, with this northern wall that people call it, And of course, you need to fulfill all these Bible prophecies, because, our mission is to bring Jesus, the Messiah. You need to go through all these steps, all these prophetic steps, begin now, Sidon, Then you're gonna have all the other prophecies, You need to fulfill Isaiah, Elam, You need to rebuild the third temple, and we need, you need to go through all these things, So yeah, and I understand the whole prophetic front end because not only have I prophesied all these things to you, but with all my biblical decipherings and my study of the Bible, so I understand all these things, Yeah, I just keep to myself, yeah, these things I just keep to myself, thinking about you, Israel, of course, in privacy for you to do all these things, so I understand, the only thing that I said to my brother, they don't even know that I'm a prophet. Do you know that, Israel? My brothers don't. I never told my brothers because only my oldest brother said to him once or twice, I'm an advisor to Israel in Bible prophecy, just to sort of like go fishing to see what he will say, but he's not into any of this stuff. He thinks it's all baloney, and I haven't told any of my brothers that I'm a prophet. No one knows in my family that I'm a prophet. I keep this to myself, and I'm never gonna tell them either, because all I want is just to tell them the basic things. Hey, Israel is in war. The Bible says there's gonna be a rapture. Go and watch over Breaker. I don't recommend them to watch Tim Henderson or Jonathan Kahn because they speak to people who have a fair bit of knowledge, and their knowledge is very limited. So I have to recommend them, the basics, Robert Breaker. And that's all I'm gonna do between now and then. Just watch Robert Breaker. Maybe I must suggest Tim Henderson. Who is a little bit easier, than Jonathan Kahn. Jonathan Kahn is for prophets, and and try and get them educated as much as I can, between now and then, that's all I can do. But they don't know that I'm a prophet. I'm not going to tell them either. And all the things that I know, I'm going to keep them to myself, the only things that I'm going to say to them is just the basics, like there's going to be a rapture, everyone's talking about it. You need to be clever. Look, see, watch this video by Robert Breaker. See, I'm not the only one, am I? No. Watch Tim, things like that, just basic stuff, because they don't have the mindset to understand all these things, And I also know that I need to keep reserved to protect your interest, Israel, So I'm doing this, So I'm aware of this, But anyway, yeah, we shall see what happens, in the near future. As you progress, through with the Sidon Bible prophecy, there will come a time when you're gonna have to think of 17 and Elam, And don't be surprised if God sends me out to you again to prophesy Isaiah 17 or Elam, because I have already established a pattern that I already made you aware of, and I'm sure that you have picked up on it on this as well, because you are clever Israel and you are Israel. Uh, and so, and I say clever because you understand everything that I'm saying here anyway. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah. So don't be surprised, So, of course, as you progress with all of this, I'm saying that not now. I think that you need to. Uh, I don't foresee myself prophesying. Perhaps I might. I don't know. This, of course, according to the will of God. But I don't foresee myself prophesying until you get a little bit deeper with the Sidon Bible prophecy. Just prior to Isaiah or Elam. We'll see what God gives. But according to the pattern. So we shall see. So anyway, yeah, that's all I wanted to say, Israel, with these things. It's an incredible journey. Yeah, it's an incredible journey. You know, you think about God all the time. You have God in your head all the time. And yeah, it's thrilling. Prophesying and getting new knowledge and things like that. It's thrilling. It's yeah. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to fathom all of this. Um, and now that I'm sort of like more laid back, with all of this, not that I have done quite a lot, and I'm more mellowed, with the whole situation, Not that I'm not that Elijah or Mount Carmel, so to speak. I'm more. Now that God has given me this prophecy, He has made me relaxed a bit more, more mellow, more sort of like, more composed, uh, more sort of like a well-seasoned prophet, yeah, you just start getting your stride now, and yeah, you wait it out, and you're humble, you stay level-headed, with these things. You stay private with these things. You study the Bible. You have your conversations with God. And things like that. Yeah, this is all quite incredible. Quite incredible. What do you say? What do you say? It's hard to fathom all this. Um, yeah, I just sort of like smile and laugh a bit because it's an incredible journey. It's an incredible journey. And I have the peace of God in saying all of this. In saying all of this, none of this bothers me. None of this. Uh, because I have the complete peace of God. And you cannot prophesy any of these things that I said without the peace of God, and even with the knowledge that God is giving me, with all these, all this biblical knowledge. Some of it is actually even secret, but you stay level-headed nonetheless. You stay level-headed, and you respect God, and you respect that, you're in a very privileged position, as a prophet, and yeah, you just move from one thing to the next, and yeah, and you have the peace of God in all of this, yeah, it's incredible, yeah, sometimes I just don't know how to explain all these things, uh, not only with what has happened with me, with my prophetic experience, but when you look back at the Jewish history, when you look back at at the history of the prophets and the apostles, and how is it that I got all this stuff right at the end of the church age, and I'm the only one, I'm the only one with Messiah's mentor, like Jonathan Kahn calls it, So yeah, it's incredible, like in the days of old, Isaiah, then he was followed by Jeremiah, and the minor prophets, in those days, but I'm on my own, here, as a mature prophet, not living in Israel, just completely on my own, doing this job, yeah, and I'm doing this here from this little corner of the world called Sydney, Australia. And, I don't have the means to go to Israel and prophesy. And, I'm just here, using this phone here, putting it on YouTube Live because I don't have any other way of talking to you otherwise, But I'm hoping that as I do these videos, that you will grab them and you will privatize them for yourselves, and pass on the knowledge to the Hachamim and the elders of Israel, the people in power, the people in authority that need to hear these things, So yeah, I just like to say a warm hello. Sorry, I don't think I said it earlier. I just got straight into talking. So a warm hello to the Chachamim and the elders of Israel. So yeah, I think it's incredible. This experience is quite incredible. It's a journey that I'm doing on my own. It's a lonely experience. Of course I have God. So it's not too lonely. And God is, of course, the ultimate. Companion. Thank God that I have, Jonathan Kahn as a prophetic mentor. I think that all his videos are spot on. He speaks to prophets. I always said that Jonathan Kahn speaks to prophets. I think that Jonathan Kahn, uh, you know, with the knowledge that he has and that he passes on, he must have gone through a lot of adversity to know all the stuff. Because I went through a lot of adversity, and I completely understand everything that he says. Everything that Jonathan Kahn says, I completely understand everything. And it would have taken someone that went through a fair bit of adversity to say those things, because I was prepared earlier by adversity to be in this role, So that's why I understand him, But sometimes I look at his audience, and they're sort of like bewildered. I don't think some of them don't have no idea what John is talking about. Jonathan Kahn is talking about, But I completely understand it. That's why I always said that Jonathan Kahn talks to prophets. He's amazing. Thank God for him, and I know that he came on to the ministry almost. He had a bit of a train accident, but I think that God is using him for me now. He's kind of like my mentor, if you like. And I also like Tim Henderson as well. I think that they're amazing pastors, old school, like I said earlier. And I need them, to help me, get through, with this experience, as a prophet. Everything that I say, I always look forward, to watching the videos and to see what they say. They're always on fire, for God. And either all of them, if they want to be a prophet, they should ask God. Especially Jonathan Kahn, who has a bit of a gift in this area. The best tip that I can give to Jonathan Kahn is that, go in believing in the miracles of God. Go in and believe it. Believe in the miracles, and ask God to give you miracles, and then build from that platform, and ask God to give you more, like I did. you know. So it might work. It might work. Maybe show this little clip here to Jonathan Kahn. In that it might be possible for him to become a prophet because he's on the borderline there, And the last video that I saw of him, that he just posted, had to defeat giants and things like that. I feel sorry for him, because I think he's on the borderline of being a prophet, and I can see he's practically begging God to make him a prophet, and I feel sorry for him, and I'm gonna pray to God, to allow him to prophesy if it's according to His will, And I think that he should take this to God, and ask God, is it okay if you allow me to prophesy, is it okay if I can be in your will? I believe in your miracles. Is it possible that you can give me at least something, just one little thing to build upon, and go from there? It might work, because I can see he wants to be, like he's really on fire, to be one, and I can see that it's coming out of his soul, he wants it badly, and maybe, he should ask God like I did, um, I asked God boldly. It was just in my heart. It was just like, you know, wanting to come out. I didn't know much about the Bible, but I just went and asked him anyway, because I believed in the miracles that God came in before. And so I came in believing in miracles. And that's very key, believing miracles. And I said to him, uh, God, I want to be a prophet. I missed my chance, and it became from there. He immediately put me into a test of faith, which I passed. And it might just work, that's the key thing, that it might just work, and he might have a chance of being one, I can see that he wants to be one badly, it's coming out of his soul, out of his mouth practically, give it a chance, get on your prayers, I will pray to God for him that if he wants to become one, if because this is going to be a commitment, you have to commit everything once you become a prophet. You have to commit, with your whole soul, your mind, everything into this mission, because, being a prophet, it's, for God, it's something that is quite incredible. It's going to be passing on, it's going to be using his powers on you. It's going to getting you to prophesy and things like that. And so it's going to be, an incredible experience, and once you're in this business of prophesying, then you got to be committed 100%. You got to go for it, once you have the anointing, then it's on, and once you got the mantle on, you gotta go for it, and it's full on. And at first, it's gonna be exhilarating. You're gonna be hips happy, especially when God gives you something, like go and prophesy this, like prophesy a lot of things, and then He'll give you some biblical knowledge or whatever. Sometimes biblical knowledge is actually equivalent to prophesying, like Haggai short temple about prophecies, it's going to be exhilarating, and then you build from there and you say, God, give me more. That was awesome. Yeah. Woohoo, give me more and more, and build from that, but you got to keep believing on miracles, and like Jonathan Kahn said, this is not an intellectual thing. It's a thing from the soul, from the heart that you believe, and it might just work, take a chance like I did, and I was desperate to take this to Jesus because we're in the end times. There's not enough time to, like I said, I didn't have any experience as a pastor, or I never went to Bible college or whatever. And even if I went to Bible college today, I wouldn't last more than a week because I know my temperament, and I know what I know. And but that's not important because I already have a higher office than that of a pastor, because the office of a prophet is much higher than that of a pastor, because God is using us under His power to prophesy. So we have a higher office. But it might just work if Jonathan Kahn, goes to God, in an honest manner in his heart. This is very important. You gotta be honest in your heart. You gotta wanna do this because it's gonna take a lot of courage. And once you have the anointing and then you're in the will of God with this, in this business as a prophet, it's on from then. This is unstoppable. Like either God is going to take you out, or maybe you might go out of the rapture, but or you might get prophesied to, like God has prophesied to me, I'm going to take you out. I want you to serve me in heaven. So once you receive that anointing, then it's full on. You're gonna have God on your mind all the time, almost just about every second. Like all your thoughts, you take them to God. Like sometimes you're sitting like this. You have to go for walks. like I do, just to sort of, dissipate. There sometimes you get a little bit of stress, because you're thinking about God all the time, and you need something to relax. Maybe go on a scooter ride, like I'm doing here, or go for a walk somewhere, just to dissipate the stress, because you have been given so many victories, with biblical knowledge and prophesying that you're just like, wow, and you are an anointed prophet. I had two anointings. One when I was prophesying to you, Israel, and the church, and then the second one to you, Israel only. So twice I was anointed. So yeah, once you're on, then it's full on. It's exciting. It's rewarding, immensely rewarding that you're in the will of God, and that you're now part of Bible history, because there will be a new Bible in the future when Jesus comes back for the millennium, and I will be there with my prophecies in the Bible. So you will become part of biblical history, like I'm doing now, right now. So, but it's important not to let this experience get out of hand. You can't let it get to your ego or anything. You just have to be level-headed. See it as great. When God gives you something, go and prophesy. You get some biblical knowledge. You go, wow, thank you, God, that was awesome. Give me another one. But stay level-headed, stay humble. Fight for God, fight for Israel. Put God and Israel first and second. And yeah, just keep moving along. Go from one thing to the next. Don't dwell on it too much. Just stay level-headed. And if you become a prophet, then think about what things you can do for Israel. Like some of the things that I thought is, of course, rising a prophet. Things like that. And take your issues with God. Like I did. When the church wasn't listening to my prophesying about the rapture. So yeah, it's gonna be immensely rewarding. Just stay level-headed. But if you really want this bad, Jonathan can maybe ask. Because that's the only the only tip that I can give you. Because if you want this bad enough, you will get it. Just come in with faith and believe in miracles. And we don't have long. So you might want to ask. Soon. Yeah, that's a tip that I can give you. If you want it badly, if it's gritting in your heart, go for it. Sometimes I wonder, and I said to myself, how on earth did I do this? Uh, you know, what got me to say this to God in the first place? God, I want to be a prophet. I missed my chance in my car on an early morning when I went to an Aldi shopping center. It's incredible. I don't know. I don't know all the things of God. Israel. I don't know all the things. I mean, it's it's hard to fathom a smile like this, because what else can I say? Yeah, it's something else. This is something else. It's hugely rewarding. You really, it's rewarding in your heart. It's incredible. If you want to bet enough, do it. I think that God must agree on this in my heart. Because when I think back, I don't know how I did this. But anyway, I remember when I was watching the Ten Commandments, I used to get goosebumps, and it used to affect me for a couple of days. I used to think about, I want to be like this man, like Charles Heston, like a Moses, uh, I was all energized, and sort of like my heart was sort of like coming out. It was just an incredible, it used to affect me for a few days, and yeah, it was just like kind of like overpowering, and then of course when I got sight, I took my opportunity, and so yeah, yeah, sometimes how all this is happened is, it's God is in full control, Perhaps this was predestinated, like it says in the Bible, before God created the earth, but anyway, yeah, if Jonathan Kahn wants to be one, ask God, like I did, be bold, just like you say, Jonathan Kahn, be bold as a lion. I heard you say that. Be bold as a lion, like I did, and you never know your rewards. And do it now. If you wanna do this, do it now, because when I went to God, I felt like time is running out. I said to God, God, I want to be a prophet. I missed my chance, and from that day onwards, uh, you know, uh, it was never the same after that, Uh, but I hope that this is in your heart, that this is what you really want to do in your heart, If this is glue in your heart that you want to be a prophet, that you want to be a prophet of God, if this is what you want in your heart and you want it this bad, go for it, Give it an opportunity, like leave it all here, leave it all here, because once we are in heaven, then the work is done, and so yeah, you want to look back and you want to go up there with no regrets, so yeah, just go for it, if this is what you want, it's an amazing experience, yeah, it's incredible, all of these. All right, folks, an hour and 20 minutes. Sorry for being a bit of a charlatan, like we say in Spanish. Yeah, I was born in Uruguay in South America, so but yeah, anyway, I guess this is all I just wanted to say with this video, yeah, I just wanted to pass on a little bit of information, just do the monthly kind of like video, just to catch up, with you who have been in elders, and just to give you an update, and just to, yeah, just give you an insight on a few things, so, and maybe a few tips for Jonathan Kahn. Why not? All right, folks, thanks for watching. Thank you for coming. Thank you, elders of Israel. Stay strong, fulfill our prophecy, because, all of us, God, you, Israel, and I, are all in this together, for the fulfillment of our prophecies, because this is where we are right now. And although this is difficult on many fronts, on the social, on the political, on the military, and also it's also a hard issue as well, especially when you see Israel being so prosperous, it breaks your heart, Yeah, there's no easy answer, it's no easy answer, but the most important thing is that we need to bring Jesus out, the Messiah, because at the end of the day, we're doing all this for Him, so it's important that you fulfill our prophecy. And as much as it hurts, it does hurt, we're all human. Take it up with God and fulfill our prophecy. All right, thank you, Israel. Thank you for coming. Thank you, others. And yeah, we'll have a chat, God willing, there on the track. Amen.